is up, Teacher Recharge listeners? Welcome back to another edition of the Teacher Recharge podcast. It's a mini episode today. We'll go about 10 minutes today, and I can explain. Let me tell you, a lot of you out there have been through this thing called grad school, and you know, right? Like, it is a lot more work than I was expecting, and I guess it makes sense with Orangetheory and soccer season all being at the same time, and then you add grad school onto it. It gets kind of crazy, but it is currently 1:30 a.m. on Monday morning, and I am recording this episode. And I do have a guest that I would have loved to have for today. Her name is Eleni Theodorou, but I really wanted to give her the respect and attention to that episode, to that recording that it deserved, so that it can sound great and wonderful. And I just don't think I could give it that attention at the moment in sound mind. So I'm going to bring some facts to you today and some stuff that I've been learning, give you a little bit of update, an update on what's going on in my life, and kind of tell you how this is all happening. So plenty of great content though coming up in the next few minutes here for you to chew on. So I would definitely stay tuned. I got some good stuff I think today that you'll really enjoy. So let's get this started. All right. What is up, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic Monday morning. And like I mentioned in that little intro, it is hella late when I am recording this, but I got some great stuff to come at you with. So I'm going to first start off with kind of where I've been over the last couple months, because I do have the privilege of coaching a very, very, very talented group of boys this season. Currently sitting in first place, but what the cool thing is about this high school boys team that I'm coaching at East is we don't care. We don't care about the wins and the losses, which is really interesting. So I obviously started my grad school work, as I mentioned, and that's why I'm recording so late tonight. And you're hearing some ums and stuff. It's not really that edited, and I do apologize for that. But one of the things I picked up this year was obviously my grad work in sports psychology. So that's what I'm getting my master's in, is sports psychology. And one of the big things that they kind of talk about there is the difference between outcome-based goals and process-based goals. And I think that's been something that has completely changed the way I kind of look at how I structure my life and what I really care about. I've talked on the podcast before about this idea of differentiation, and the thought that, if we can differentiate ourselves from our work and we can just be ourselves, then it takes a lot of the pressure off and stuff, and it really contributes to you loving yourself. So for example, like if I base all of my worth off of whether my soccer team wins or loses, well, I'm not really taking myself into account there. I'm really focusing on stuff that I'm not 100% in control of. And that's going to end up not being too healthy in the end. Well, when we look at, with a class doing the same kind of thing, not saying that there's no room for outcome-based goals when we're setting goals, but the idea that, okay, yeah, we might have one outcome-based goal that maybe is our long-term goal. Like, for example, my soccer team, they want to be a state tournament team. Okay, well, that's an outcome. That's an outcome-based goal, obviously. That's something that you want to achieve, and it's definitely outcome-based. Well, a process-based goal is a little different. It's, well, how do we get there? What are the little tiny steps? How can we break this down? You could break it down into minutes during the day. I mean, you just keep, it's like one of those annoying kids in kindergarten, like when you were in kindergarten, when it was like, well, why? Well, why? Well, why'd you do that? Well, what? Yeah, it's like that. It's like you keep asking yourself, well, okay, well, why do you want to do that? Like for example, outcome-based goal for me, let's just say, was going professional, being a professional soccer player. I've always wanted to do that. And I had almost given up on it, but some opportunities came up and I had to make a decision because the opportunity was not in Wichita. It was out of Wichita, quite a few hours away. I mean, it was in my hometown, which is 9 hours away. And the whole thought was like, oh, well, if I leave, obviously I'm going to leave my dog and my wife. I should have said wife first. My wife and my dog behind. And, do I really want to do that? Is it worth this? Like, obviously, I've been working for 22 years of my life to get an opportunity like this. But, is it more about me or is it more about my ego or what is it? And obviously, that was an outcome-based goal. So the thing that I'm trying to come out to is obviously that's an outcome-based goal. But then I start asking myself, well, like, why? Is it ego-based? And for a second there, I really thought it was. I thought it was, oh my gosh, Fred, you've completely lost yourself here because you just want people to think, oh, cool, that guy went pro. That's not good values. But then the more I thought about it, there was so much more to it than that. I've had multiple coaches tell me I'm too small to play at the next level. I've had multiple people tell me, I have had people literally laugh at me for saying, hey, I think I want to try and go pro. And I think what that comes off as sounding is like, oh, well, it is for other people. But I think what really came down to it and why I ultimately took that opportunity was I really needed to prove to myself that I could do it. I really needed to prove that outcome I was capable of. But then I say, okay, well, why do you need to prove that? Well, because I've worked extremely hard at that. And now we have a why behind it. And that is the big thing about outcome-based goals is you have to have a why behind it, right? And you can do this with your class as well. It's like, well, why do you want to do something? Okay, well, why are we doing that? Is it to help others, or is it to help ourselves? Is it to, and if it is to help ourselves, is it in something that's going to help us help others later? Or is it just something that is unbelievably selfish? Where is that why coming from? And then after we find out that why, if it's a strong enough why, I truly believe that once you set a goal for yourself, off in the distance, and there's a big enough why behind it, like you have that passion, I truly believe you can start setting up those small process goals that are just about the day-to-day taking care of one thing a day. That's my challenge, is just take care of one thing a day. Just one thing. Put something on your list. Like, hey, I'm taking care of some debt. I want to pay off that first credit card by 3 months from now. And then commit to it. And start saving. What do you have to do to get there? Why do you have to get there? Well, obviously the outcome-based goal, and that's where that outcome-based goal kind of comes into play, is, why do you want to get there? Well, the outcome. The outcome isn't going to happen without the process. So it kind of works together there. And going back to the very, very beginning of this entire conversation is, that's kind of what I've been learning a little bit. That's, in my opinion, that's the biggest thing that's kind of helped me as a coach and just in my day-to-day life as well from this grad school work so far, is just the difference between outcome-based goals and process-based goals. I've always been a really big goal setter. Like, I really have. I love goals. I love setting goals. I think it's extremely important. But I've never been this pointed in it, and I've never been this strategic and smart with it. And it's really cool to see the fruits of that labor and really watch it happen. And then being able to assist the boys I coach and the girls I coach with similar things. I mean, it's fantastic, and I would highly recommend it, especially if you're with, a class, or if you're another coach out there, setting some goals for the year. What do you want to cover? Why do we need to cover it? That's something, let me rant for like 2 seconds. I mean, I'm almost done here, but let me rant for like 2 seconds about math teachers. A lot of the time that I had math teachers, there's never a why behind it. And I think that's why math gets such a bad stick. It's like, to the teacher, there's probably a why. But a lot of those math teachers that I had growing up, I mean, my dad was even guilty of that. Sometimes, Dad, if you're listening to this, you are guilty of this sometimes, but he's too smart for his own good. Anyways, but it's not explaining the why behind it. Why do we need to learn math? Why do we need to learn English? What is the why behind it? If you can get your kids to buy into that why, if you can really talk to them about why and then set up the goals of like, well, this is why we need to do this. So here's how we're going to do it. Man, I just think you're going to be so much more successful. At least that's what I'm experiencing right now in my coaching. So hopefully that kind of helps you as you go through into a new week. I hope your Monday goes fantastic. And my challenge to you today is, whether it's in your personal life or with your class, I want you to set an outcome-based goal. That's probably a long-term goal. Let's think 2-3 years down the line. And then I want you to take it to tomorrow. Meaning, I want a process-based goal that you do for tomorrow. So if you want to, let's say you want to be debt-free, what can you do tomorrow to start making that happen? Change doesn't happen without a step. Well, hey, I really do apologize for not having a guest on the show this week. Unfortunately, the way grad school is working, this might happen from time to time. Bear with me. Let me know how this goes, though. I will always be bringing some stuff no matter what. Even if it's just me and a mic, it's all good. I'm not afraid of a mic. I would love to hear from you, though. Love to hear some responses. Fred@fredmotivates.com. Or you can email the podcast directly, which would be probably the better one there, teacherrechargepodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is teacherrechargepodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. And if you know anyone that would be great for the show, I would love to hear from them as well. All right. Well, next week we will be back with Eleni Theodorou, and she's got some awesome stuff to say. I can't wait. I can't wait to release that. And like I said, I wish I could have done it this week, but next week it'll be the way it should be, in living color, or whatever that Justin Timberlake song says. TKO. Anyways, all right. Hey. Have a fantastic week. I'm done ranting. And until next time, much love.